Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the 96th Test Wing Commander, Brigadier General Scott A. Kane, I would like to welcome you to the 96th Cyberspace Test Group's Change of Command Ceremony. I am Lieutenant Adam Bordeaux from the group's front office, and I will be your narrator for today's event. The Change of Command Ceremony is deeply rooted in military tradition, dating back to 18th century Prussia. During this time, the organizational flags were developed with unique color arrangements and symbols for each particular unit. The soldiers of that unit would dedicate their loyalty and trust to the flag and their commander. When a change of command was to take place, the flag would be passed to the individual assuming command. This ceremony was accomplished in front of the members of the unit so they could witness this outward and visible sign of the transfer of power and the authority to the new commander. Brigadier General Scott A. Kane will officiate today's ceremony, in which Colonel Brian J. Choi will relinquish command of the 96th Cyberspace Test Group to Colonel Michael J. Dooley. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by for the playing of ruffles and flourishes in the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 96th Test Wing, Brigadier General Scott A. Kane.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everybody to the ceremony today, and all of those that are out there watching this, Team Cyber Test Group, all the rest of the Team Eglin leaders, the family that's out there. Welcome to the ceremony, and thanks for being here with us today. I want to start out by thanking some folks for putting this together. This is a new kind of a production, so I want to make sure I give special thanks to the protocol team and the PA team for putting together a change of command ceremony of a different sort today. I also want to make sure I thank the Cyber Test Group and everybody who coordinated to make this possible. So thank you all. I want to talk a little bit today about philosophy of leadership, and one of my favorite comparisons or couplets, if you will, about a leader is the difference between a manager and a leader. And instead of talking about Colonel Brian Choi in terms of all the great accomplishments he's had at the Cyber Test Group and over his career, I wanted to talk about being a manager versus being a leader. And I have a great quote from a gentleman named Chris Inglis. He was a former Air Force pilot, was a deputy director of the NSA, and he said, a manager is someone who makes decisions and solves issues. A leader is someone who reframes what is possible or appropriate. And when I think about Colonel Choi and what he's done as a leader in the Air Force in that context, I think about reframing what is possible or appropriate. Colonel Choi came into a new test group one of the newest domains that we operate in, and found that the rules, the processes, the culture was designed for something different from CyberTest. And he really did embrace that, reframe what is possible within those rules, which rules apply, which ones don't, and how you give the most value to a development enterprise when the whole culture, the whole organization is built around something else. And Kronos has certainly done that, of showed the test wing, the test center, the whole Air Force acquisition enterprise, what is possible out of CyberTest, and done a fine job of setting us off in a different direction that's going to be more effective for the future. Another one that I like about managers and leaders is that managers give directions and leaders ask questions. Part of Kronos Commander's intent is actually to ask why. Out of all of my commanders, I have no doubt and all the expectation in the world that if there's going to be a tough question asked, it's going to come from Colonel Choi. He has persistently asked tough questions, questioned decisions, questions why we do things, and pushed that down to get the whole organization to question why. And that creates a culture, thinking culture, and a more innovative culture. And particularly over the last several months, I want to thank Colonel Choi for asking a lot of tough questions that, even though you didn't hear all those questions, made all your lives better here at the test wing and in the cyber test group. And then last but not least, another comparison I'll make is that managers have employees and leaders create fans. Kronos, I'm a fan. You have been a mentor for hundreds of acquisition professionals. You have created fans out of the leadership, but out of a cadre that follows you. And I appreciate you leading with vision and having the inspiration that makes you a leader. I want to wish you all the best as you move on, you and Stacy, into another part of the defense enterprise. And I want to just thank you for not only a service to the Cyber Test Group, but to an incredible career of service to the United States Air Force. So what leader have we chosen to replace Colonel Choi? Colonel Michael J. 3/4 ton Dooley. I will say, and I have said this before, but I think a new bar is set with having the perfect person to take command. 3/4 ton comes from a background that makes him the absolute best person that can take over the Cyber Test Group. He's been an engineer across the AFMC and Air Force Test Center enterprise. He's a test pilot school graduate. He's been a program manager. He's been a material leader in the cyber enterprise, most recently coming from AFRL as a detachment commander. Been to our best professional military education, and also he's coming back home. So I want to welcome him and Jerusha back to Niceville, from which Colonel Dooley is a native. And it's not just him, his family goes all the way back to 1949, I think, when your grandparents met active duty at Eglin Air Force Base. But I'll let him tell the rest of his story to you. But I wanted to welcome you back and thank your family for getting you back here to lead the Cyber Test Group. Like I said, no better leader for the Cyber Test Group today. Quite simply, my challenge to you is to continue to reframe what is possible and appropriate. There are still endless possibilities out of the Cyber Test Group, and it's a growing enterprise, and I have no doubt you're going to lead us in new directions across your massive portfolio. I also know it was important to Colonel Choi and will continue to be important to you, the climate that we create and what is appropriate in the context of that leadership is especially important today. And I look forward to seeing where you lead our airmen in building a better place to work and live. And last but not least, I know you're going to create some fans. Continue to as you have through your career. Lead with vision and inspiration. We're counting on you and the Cyber Test Group to do something we're calling building highways. The future of our warfighting concept is based on building the highways upon which we operate. And that's key to our theory of victory. And the Cyber Test Group is central to that fight. So stay focused on building the highways that are going to make us win our wars of the future. And I look forward to seeing where you take the Cyber Test Group. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank you again for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and move on with the ceremony.
Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Brian J. Choi. Colonel Brian J. Choi distinguished himself by exceptional meritorious conduct and the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 96 Cyberspace Test Group, 96 Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, Air Force Materiel Command, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, from 4 December 2017 to 31 August 2020. During this period, the exemplary leadership, foresight, and ceaseless efforts exhibited by Colonel Choi resulted in significant contributions to the effectiveness and success of the cyberspace test missions in support of strategic Department of Defense and Air Force objectives. As the inaugural commander for the newly formed Cyberspace Test Group, Colonel Choi skillfully formed the culture of nearly 800-person unit to empower brand new squadrons and embrace innovation, creating an adaptive organization to manage and execute 500 test programs and an annual budget of over $150 million. He leveraged this group to pioneer test and evaluation methodologies in the growing information dominance technology areas that are critical to the development and implementation of multi-domain operations and joint all-domain command and control. Notably, Colonel Choi oversaw execution of the first ever Advanced Battle Management System experiment, planning in 2 months what would typically take upwards of 1 year, and supporting the Chief of Staff of the Air Force's initiative to realign $3.3 billion towards joint interoperability. He persistently injected test rigor into organic Air Force software factories such as Kessel Run, Space Camp, and Level Up, accelerating the fielding of quality software by more than 2,000%. Colonel Choi also expanded cybersecurity test and evaluation capabilities, investing $150 million towards specialized infrastructure and tools, and guiding the development of standardized Air Force vulnerability assessment processes. His vision for the role of testing in the cyberspace domain challenged the status quo, advocating for end-user capability, laying the foundation for future improvements to the acquisition enterprise. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Choi culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. General Kane will now present the 96th Test Wing. General Kane will now present the 96th Test Wing Hourglass to Colonel Choi.
So Kronos, the inscription on there reads, presented to Colonel Brian J. Choi from the grateful men and women of the 96th Test Wing, December 2017 to June 2020, E Sempre Laura. And E Sempre Laura means it's always the hour. And that comes from our World War II heritage, where B-17s were able to bomb around the clock, 24/7. And I will tell you that as a commander, at times you are required to work around the clock. You always have to be there for your people, and you certainly have lived up to that motto of the Test Wing. So thank you from the entire Test Wing for your contributions to our mission and for taking care of our people. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 96 Cyberspace Test Group, Colonel Brian J. Choi.
Well, thank you, sir. And likewise, echoing General Kane, thank you to the team here putting together this unique change of command ceremony. I appreciate the opportunity to really address the men and women of the Cyberspace Test Group, as well as anybody else who may be watching and participating. This is really my opportunity to express my gratitude and say my farewells to the organization that I've been a part of for on multiple times over the course of my career. So first and foremost, I did want to thank my wife, Stacy. These ceremonies quite often are a perfect opportunity to thank our spouses, to thank our families. It shouldn't be the only time we do that, but I would be remiss if I did not thank my wife, thank her for her support throughout my career, but certainly in the last 2.5 years in this position. A lot of challenges, a lot of stressful times associated with command. Not necessarily all bad, but having that rock and foundation to go back to and know that the support and love that she provides me has been tremendous. And again, I appreciate that. So I love you, Stacy, and thank you for all your support. To the men and women of the Cyberspace Test Group, it really has been an honor and a privilege. I'm humbled by this opportunity to come back to this organization that I've been part of before. I can't think of a more diverse, professional, innovative group of people across our squadrons, across the detachment, across our support division that have been instrumental in attacking this problem, this challenge of cyberspace testing. Even the definition of cyberspace is elusive for many people, and I think as we continue to refine how we approach our test methodologies, I know that the people, the men and women, the workforce of this organization are definitely capable of adapting and evolving to meet those challenges. Long before the concepts of joint all-domain command and control, or as General Kane alluded to, Chief Goldfeин's vision of prioritizing or stressing the importance of highways over trucks, this organization has been doing C4ISR testing, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, the full range of what I consider cyberspace capabilities. And I think that now that we are approaching a time where that is becoming much more prominent and getting to the forefront of what we really need to be doing, the importance of this organization will only continue to grow. I also wanted to thank my leadership team. So the group staff, the group leadership, the deputies, tech director, superintendent, the squadron commanders and their staffs and their teams. You've made my life tremendously much more easier than it could have been. And I appreciate your leadership and your dedication. I think that we all know that the quality of the workforce, the people that we work for, the people that we work with, and the people who work for us really make all the difference in an organization. And I've been fortunate that to have such an awesome team supporting the stand-up of this group, the stand-up of the squadrons, and the execution of the mission within this organization. I've been thoroughly impressed and extremely proud of the work that you all have accomplished. And I will say that I've never been disappointed. You've always performed better than expected. For the wing, General Kane, thank you for the kind words again, and really to the wing staff and the wing leadership team. It's been an honor, and really it's been a tremendous opportunity to come back to this wing and work as part of this team. Colonel Beers, Chief Auger, Mr. Crockett, it's an amazing team. I always felt like you had my back, but if I needed help, that I would be able to come and ask for it, and I did on numerous occasions. And so thank you to you, sir. Thank you to your staff and your team. And really, I think appreciate, as you mentioned during some of your comments, your advocacy of the mission that we are accomplishing, and the fact that we recognize that there are differences in how we attack the cyberspace test challenges and how do we go forward from here. And the last group that I would like to thank is really our partners within the acquisition community. And so our operational test brethren across the Air Force, so the 605th Test and Evaluation Squadron, the 53rd Wing, AMC Test and Evaluation, and of course AFOTech. I think we're one of the few organizations where we work with every single AFOTech detachment as well as the headquarters. When you look at the program management offices that we work with, a large part of our portfolio is up at Hanscom Air Force Base. And I've had the pleasure and opportunity of meeting many of my counterparts within the Hanscom community, and I appreciate your camaraderie and your willingness to work with the test community as we tackle these new challenges of how to get after things like joint all-domain command and control. How do we build these highways out? In addition to the folks up at Hanscom, we also touch every single program executive officer portfolio in the Air Force, I believe. And so that includes Gunter, that includes Wright-Patterson, that includes formerly Space and Missile Center, now U.S. Space Force, SOCOM, as well as multiple joint and DoD partners. And so I encourage us to continue to foster those relationships. I appreciate, again, thank you for the opportunity to work together. And I look forward to, I ask that you include Colonel Dooley in those discussions going forward. Speaking of Colonel Dooley, General Kane has already mentioned his pedigree and his credentials. I've known Three-Quarter for a number of years, probably a dozen years now, and I could not agree more that he is the right person to take over this organization. I know he will do an absolutely tremendous job, and I look forward to seeing what he and the rest of the group do during this time. So I bid you farewell. This is farewell for now, but not goodbye for good. Please, always happy to reach out, and I hope to stay in contact with many of you after I depart the Air Force and this area. So thank you.
Publish your orders.
Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, United States Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order Number ED 20-154. By order of the Commander, 96 Test Wing, Colonel Michael J. Dooley is appointed Commander, 96 Cyberspace Test Group, 96 Test Wing, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, effective 12 June 2020.
Center face.
Sir, I relinquish command.
Sir, I assume command.
Face front.
Awesome. First, I want to say thank you to General Kane and to General Lozano for this opportunity. My wife, Jerusha, and I are very excited to be part of the Cyberspace Test Group team back here at Eglin Air Force Base. Thank you to Kronos for his leadership over the last 2.5 years, commanding the Cyberspace Test Group from its inception through an 800-strong person team that's consistently delivering C4ISR and cyber combat capability around the globe. Thank you to my wife, Jerusha. Now through 11 PCSs, she's been with me every step of the way. I love her very much, and I could not have done this without you, so thank you very much. Thank you to my parents, James and Cindy Dooley, for getting the opportunity to be here today. And thank you to all of my friends and family who are not able to join us in person. Thank you specifically to Jerusha's parents who are not able to join us today, Dr. Kenneth and Jackie McLeod, and my grandmother, Joyce Dooley. And finally, and I think most importantly, thank you to the 96 Cyberspace Test Group team. It's an amazing opportunity to get the chance to once again be part of the premier C4ISR and cyber test organization in the Air Force. Although the group is less than 3 years old, the legacy of test expertise that this organization has led has ensured that our information domain dominance has persisted from 4th and 5th generation weapon systems to space and to the emergence of cyber as an entirely new warfighting domain. This team has ensured that cutting-edge combat capability is delivered to the warfighter to dominate the information domain when we need it most. From a legacy of the Cold War and Desert Storm, through the global war on terrorism, to the return to great power competition with near-peer competitors that's called out in our national defense strategy. This organization has ensured and will continue to ensure that our C4ISR and cyber capability are second to none. A century ago, early air pioneers transformed warfare through the use of air power. just as our team will continue to do in airspace and cyberspace in the 21st century. So again, thank you to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. And I really look forward to the opportunity to once again be part of the 96 Cyberspace Test Group team. That concludes our ceremony today. We want to add again a special thank you and congratulations to Colonel Choi and to Stacy as they depart. We wish you farewell, and to the team of the 96 Cyberspace Test Group, I look forward to meeting you in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you.